はじめまして、愛子と申します。34歳のオーストラリアと日本のハーフなのです。高校生の先生になるために勉強しています。よろしくお願いします。I've been really fortunate in being able to travel so much while growing up. I was born in Queensland to a white mum and a Japanese dad, and when I was 3 months old, we all went back to Japan for 3 years. And because of this, Japanese was actually my first language. My dad's work then had him posted to the US for 6 years, so naturally the family moved with him. And there I learned to speak English, and we got to travel around the east coast of the US, and we saw a lot of historically significant landmarks while occasionally visiting our relatives overseas, before coming back to settle in Australia when I was about 9. So while I grew up, I had this really amazing opportunity to experience life abroad in different countries with different cultures and experiences, but I never stayed in one place long enough to make forever friends. I also never really fit in properly with my white friends because I looked too Japanese, and later the fact that I was only half Asian made it difficult for me to break into the Asian social groups here. To try and mitigate that feeling of otherness, I went by my Anglo middle name from when I was about 10, just to fit in better with my peers, and so I wouldn't be that weird looking kid with the weird name that the substitute teacher would trip over during roll call. This way I would just be the weird looking kid. And my dad didn't speak proper Japanese at home, and after my parents divorced, I bounced around between different homes with either parent and then with different relatives on the white side of my family. So from that point, I almost had no access to Japanese culture at home. And in a lot of ways I tried to bury it because I was embarrassed about being different. I just wanted to fit in with the majority. And with all the moving between family members, I ended up focusing really hard on my schooling to ignore what was going on at home. And it worked out okay because I ended up getting accepted into uni, and after graduating I moved to Newcastle and worked there for about 8 years. And during that time I still felt like a square peg in a round hole, trying really hard to fit in, trying to hide that I was weird. Eventually, with the help of professionals, I addressed some of the past trauma, and once I started going by my Japanese name in my workplace, I found it easier to find places where I fit in because I was more comfortable with being myself. In Newcastle, I joined an alternative sports team, and my teammates remained some of my closest friends, and a lot of our other hobbies overlapped. I ended up moving interstate twice after that, and the things that connect me to other people have always been my hobbies. I've never been a part of a specifically LGBTQIA community. It's something I found really hard to approach, being that I began my transition a bit later in life. But you will find queer and gender non-conforming people everywhere in shared hobbies. And cosplay is a really great way to explore your gender expression without too much emphasis on passing so much. And if you can go to conventions in cosplay, you can make instant friends because you know that that guy in the Link costume over there probably likes playing Legend of Zelda too. I've met some of my best and closest friends through cosplay, but I haven't been able to connect with the local cosplay scene here due to COVID stalling the convention scene. I'm hoping that this might change soon, since conventions really are a unique place to meet all kinds of people. I also started playing cello a couple of years ago and have made some really great local friends here through the shared love of learning music and playing together. I've been back to Japan twice since becoming an adult, and I'm still finding it hard to fit that part of me into everyday life here. Mostly it comes out in food and in my interest in pop culture and in my habitual quirks. I do that thing aizuchi, where you make a lot of and ah noises to signal that you're listening to whoever's speaking, and I find myself doing that nod bow a lot, and the shoes stay off inside the house. I've started slowly learning about queer people in Japan and have found that there are people like myself there, onabe, AFAB people who live in mask space. And there's even a documentary from the mid-90s about a group of them working together called Shinjuku Boys. What I've learned is that as long as you keep looking, you'll find people like yourself in some way everywhere.